as Livy will lead the Graviton training after this call, I offered to facilitate and to help her on this call. So yeah, I'm going to share screen and start recording.
Wow, I love how many recorders we have now. You're creating an army, Zeb.
Yeah, it's a good gang now.
The good kind.
half
Creating
of,
a
half of this meeting is recorders.
So
having some internet issues here, so I'm just going to be mainly on voice as opposed to on video today, but I'm glad to be here.
Perfect.
Welcome. Awesome to have you here.
I have something like SoftGov related that I'm just kind of beaming with right now. I want to share. Has anyone else heard Harold speak about indigenous modes of governance? It's not that people haven't maybe researched themselves, but something about him speaking is like really powerful. And I got to hear him speak in front of a group. It meant a lot to me because I always try to see how many people he can access with what he talks about with regards to what the Longhouse has shared with him. And he talks about matrilineal systems. And I just like, I'm beaming right now because I'm in SoftGov with you guys. And Livy, you've been such an amazing leader in this space. And Tam, you've been such an amazing leader in the Stewards, and it's been so meaningful to have femmes in leadership in this space. And it's like how quickly it's taken for granted, because I swear I'll just like go to a new server and it's like I'm just surrounded by men everywhere I go, and then I'm like, why do things feel different? Oh, like it's back to this again, and I don't want to bash that too much, but really I'm just trying to say that I feel very empowered in these spaces, and like it's in no small part due to your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I feel very empowered by your presence too, and Tam's presence, and also the queer people that have been joining the community. And it's really like a breath of fresh air that we are able to be together and building systems in a way that we believe in, and that there are so many people around us that support, and that the men that have been around us have been very respectful too in this sense, and that we're building something really, really beautiful together. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for sharing that too. I think it's so important, actually, especially as we want much more diversity in crypto, and we want everyone to feel welcome and, supported in taking their journey and their education in this space seriously. And, having these safe spaces where anyone can do it is so important. I'm not familiar with Harold, so I'm not familiar with what you're referring to. And I wonder if you could drop a link in SoftGov.
He has a bunch of forum posts, so I'll go scavenge my bookmarks and drop some stuff in SoftGov. But something about he's dear to me, and also he has this very like his voice is meaningful to me too. That's what I was speaking of, but also his words. So I will share the forum and just know that maybe we can do a fireside with him sometime at TEC. I'd love to set that up.
Just as a sidebar to this, I know I'm in a really good place when the teachings of the Haudenosaunee are being centered and talked about. So that's pretty awesome. When I read a basic call to consciousness, one of the things that's talked about there that they're referring to is developing liberation technology. And I see so much what we're up to here as doing just that.
Thank you, Pythagorean. This is my first time in space with you, and it's nice to hear from you.
Yay!
Yeah, please share those sources. A basic code of consciousness. That sounds
basic
cool.
call to consciousness. Yeah.
And following to the discourse that there was here, like I really admire everyone in the community, and like the the women in our community are really exceptional, and yeah, like each and every one of them excels in their knowledge, in their experience, and in their wisdom, and yeah, that's really really amazing. So
I was going to say, like, for me, it's like, like, we don't need to talk too much. Like, for me, it would be nice, like, instead of, seeing our faces, maybe you see your avatar or whatever you want to be, right? And you could be an alien, and who cares, right? It's, for me, yeah, it's more important, like, like, it doesn't matter what you really are, but what really matters is what you want to be. Yeah, I wanted to share.
You're muted, Juan.
yeah, that we prepared this intro question, and is, what are your biggest motivations while making choices? Like, and this is to have a reflection about the different points of view, because we all come from different places. We all stand from different seats in, and yeah, it's a good way to understand how multiple are our motivations while making choices, and yeah, also relating this to the way we are collectively designing our economy, because it's very interesting that this economy will like, we are now accepting a lot of proposals from different points of view, but it will end up being one proposal that will represent us. So it's like a lot of points of view colliding to make a one reality. So it's very interesting to see what are the motivations that we should want that proposal to have into consideration. So yeah, as I made the question, I will start, and I will say that one of my biggest motivations is sustainability. Like, I don't like to engage in things when I think that they will not be long lasting. I like long lasting things, and yeah, and also um, I really like one of my biggest motivations is to have a transformation. So like, have the capacity to make impact and meaningful things. So yeah, like um, uh, capacity to make meaningful things. So yeah, those are two things that motivate me a lot. Like, that's why I am always really motivated here in the TEC, because I think that we are aiming to become very sustainable, and also that we are building the capacity to make meaningful things, like support token engineering projects. That's super meaningful, or like, yeah, support a cultural build in a DAO. That's amazing. So yeah, I would say these two things to start, and yeah, also yeah, I like when things benefit others. I think that I have a high like social will, and I think that, yeah, one of my main motivations in life is to help others. So yes, maybe, yeah, that's also another great thing that there's in these communities that we are close to, that there are a lot of altruism. and yeah, I and regenerative points of view towards economy. So I think all this is super interesting. And I will pass to Sep. What are your biggest motivations while making choices?
Yeah, I also agree with you. Like sustainability, I care a lot. Like even when I was a child, like my parents were saying me like, okay, this is summer. Like, do you wanna make a travel? Like, and then like these travels normally are, like you might use like 1K or whatever, and then I like, oh no, I just prefer to buy this thing and I can use it every day, right? And yeah, sustainability is for me like I always really care like and improving my day-to-day life instead of doing big things one day. Yeah, I really agree on that. I'll pass it to Tam.
I'm not sure how to answer this question, so we're gonna just freestyle it a bit. I mean, I think that as a non-religious person, I think that there's this, like to be a good guest, on the earth, right? Like to be a good guest in somebody's home, you leave the place better than you found it. And I feel like my motivation is often like to be a good guest on our earth, like just to leave this place better than I found it. It doesn't have to be in big ways necessarily, but my motivation is just to in small ways make improvements. I'd say I also spend a lot of time prioritizing, like, there's just a lot going on with my family and then, all the stuff that's going on in work and all my personal goals and, fitness and mental health and all these things. So I feel like I'm constantly prioritizing, and prioritizing usually comes to what is going to be the best in, like, what if I do it now, my life is better in 10 years versus if I do it now. So really like a low time preference, trying to figure out like what will be the most meaningful for me in the long run. And that ends up being something that motivates me a lot. And then I think the other thing that motivates me a lot is just the things that, I like people that are happy and spreading joy and making other people happy. Like it actually means a lot to me to have the people around me happy. And I don't mean happy like fake happy, like, yeah, we're all smiling, having a good time. Yeah. I just mean like heard and seen and listened to and cared for and like those things that bring like real happiness. So I'd say another motivation is like, spreading that in my world, like where I can touch people and make sure that, there's like good vibes that emanate from this, from this corner of the earth. Yeah, I don't know that I have any better answers. So that's the best I can do.
That was great.
Oh, cool. I'll pass to Caesar if you'd like to go next.
Sure. Let's see. I was trying to think of something, and I'm gonna piggyback off what you said. Like for me, it's like the people that you meet, because there's just something, when you think about solving a problem, and I ask myself like, okay, who am I doing this for? And sometimes I do it for myself, right? Because we're all human and we need to take care of ourselves. But a lot of times, like the things that motivate me, that make me do kind of like what I'm doing right now, like looking into the world of Dallas, is like who can benefit from this, right? And I think a lot of people could. And so when I think about just how much I love the people that I meet and I want them to like, have a good world, which right now is like it's really bad, like like a lot of people are in pain. And so when I think of that, that kind of gives me like a little boost and, make sure I keep going. So that's one for me. I'm gonna pass it to uh Innovator. Innovator 3.
Sorry, I'm not quite sure what the question was. Are we checking in?
What are your biggest motivations while making choices?
I like helping other people. It's for me, it's quite. I'm a bit. I can be a bit black and white at times, but helping other people is a wonderful thing. And if you can help other people, that's fantastic. And if you can't, it's quite disappointing. Let's put it that way. So I think that's my kind of yardstick. I work with people in Africa, and there are things I'd love to do to help them, and things that I think I can do to help them. But there's always other things that I haven't quite got the resources for to be able to help them. So yeah, kind of that's my yardstick. Whether I can help other people. I was a bit late arriving, so I don't know. Can I pass to Ryder?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm geeking over here. Like, I love this question, and I love how much insight it gives into each individual person. And it gave me a lot of insight into myself, because usually I'm very mutable and people talk and my answers change, but this one just like stayed the same so hard. And my quick answer is pleasure and relationships. And I think I have enough education in pleasure and pleasure activism to know that word lands kind of narrowly for a lot of people. Like, people think about intimacy or like sexual pleasure, or pleasure that is something that you can only get from other people potentially. And I'm talking about pleasure for me can actually just kind of envelop a lot of what other people are saying. Like, what is your prioritized motivation? Like, that might be my pleasure. My pleasure could be somebody else learning a new thing, So I just wanted to in case it needed to be cracked open, I wanted to crack open what pleasure could mean. But there's also something about sacrifice that motivates me. Sacrifice, advocacy, something about like, okay, I have all of these privileges that I've recognized in my life, and it allows me to look at a situation, and then I get to decide, do I want to throw myself into the situation? Not for the purpose of martyrdom, the purpose of experimentation and learning, and like being responsible for my own pain in learning something, so that I can be an advocate and a steward to other people learning that thing. So if somebody comes after me and they learn that thing and they had less pain, especially if they have less privilege than me and had less pain, then I have succeeded. So that is one of my deepest motivations, and it's why I came to DAO Space. And I'll pass it to, has Nate gone?
I have not. Thank you, Ryder. Appreciate it. Biggest motivations while making choices. That's a carefully worded, calculated question. I would say that understanding the choice that I'm making is the biggest motivator. We all make decisions, and I think at the end of the day, if it's something that I have to make a choice on, and whether it's right or wrong, at the end of it, I want to have an understanding of what that decision was, and be able to share that information with others who go through that later on. I think just kind of having this basic drive to kind of evaluate the choices that you make afterwards in hindsight is probably the most important thing, and is the most valuable thing to me, and that's what motivates me the most. So right or wrong, I learn from it. And I will pass it on to Pythagorean.
Hold on.
The theorem.
Thank you. So on one level, I see it as motivated by needs being met. Like, let's say in this context, it's like needs for contribution, connection, and security, something like that. So I'd just say, like, in general, though, what motivates me is like needs being met, and then there's this maybe more aspirational side, which is runs a lot of my life, which is a desire to be a benefit, desire to be a blessing, and to do that in an open-hearted way. I think the way in which it happens is motivating for me too. And so, yeah, the open-heartedness, the joyousness, play, fun, those things are motivating for me. And so all that kind of is stems from like the way in which I might be going about something. And certainly for generations to come, I think someone mentioned the impact piece earlier. And so I know that when I'm a blessing in a way that I can feel confident that I've done my best to make a better world for those who are going to come after us, that's definitely motivating. And I will pass to Skyray. Unless you don't want to, in which case we can go to someone else. Let's see.
Durgas.
Liv. Oh, did I hear someone speak?
Then
I'll pass it to Liv if no one else is going.
Thank you. My biggest motivations while making choices, I think it resonates with what Nate said, an understanding of what is the choice. But I think for me, like knowing that that's connected with my truth and feeling present. I think whenever I'm uncertain about something or I feel pressured or like there's not enough information, I feel dissociated. And anytime I make decisions from this place of dissociation, I most likely will regret it or will like drop into my consciousness after and realize like, oh, I wasn't fully in myself in that moment. And then I made a a decision that didn't come from a place that really resonates with me. And I think I've been more impulsive before when I was younger. And I think luck helps you when like innocence is there. But then whenever you learn the lesson and then you keep like being impulsive, then luck is like, okay, I'm not going to be here anymore. You have to deal with that. So yeah, I think this alignment. And I'll pass to Durgadas.
Yeah, so my motivation with respect to choice is I've actually put a link in the SoftGov channel. It talks extensively about this. It's chapters 3 and 4 of the Bhagavad Gita is something that I study a lot in terms of, you know, what this looks like, because, you know, action and being in the moment, like a lot of people have talked about, is really, you know, it's about your relationship with action. This is actually a thing that I teach in my yoga studio and stuff. It's your relationship with action. The moment is your connector to the past and to the future. And you can spend your time thinking about you can spend your present thinking about the past. You can spend your present thinking about the future. You know, but there's no such thing as inaction. So it's actually super important in terms of understanding that choices and action are an axiom for life. You know, you have to, in order to live, you have to be able to make choices and take action, and that is the connector between the individuated illusion and the timelessness and the infinity and the unchanging nature of reality. So yeah, so you know, when I'm making choices, I'm trying to, you know, sort out within myself, you know, the relationship that I'm having with that and with the, you know, with that whole dynamic, plus what is appropriate for other people to be able to expand into that understanding themselves. That's my primary, you know, mode of operating. I'm not sure who to pass it to now. I think I might be the last.
I don't think that we heard Pythagorean. Or we did. Please say something if you haven't gone.
Well, yeah. Did y'all not get what I said last time? If not, I can get into it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So everybody went. We didn't leave anyone behind.
I think
So
Spoon Hater didn't go.
Skyray, but maybe they didn't want to.
Yeah, both Spoon Hater and Kyrie. Well, if anytime you guys want to jump in, feel free.
so now we can go in different directions, and I'll make you let you like choose where you want to go in this point, because I was looking in the internet for like exercises to have a deeper understanding of ourselves, and yeah, I found this like sheet to diagram the where we are and how we feel and map our 10 forms of wealth. So this can be like a very personal exercise that we can have like 10 minutes for each one to do, and it's just to have like a self-reflection of what needs are being met the most in our life, and also what other needs do we need more care to experience a full wealth in several dimensions. So yeah, that is one of the proposals. I think it's interesting, and we don't have to share anything. It's mostly a personal exercise, and that way we can like map how we are feeling according to these forms of wealth, and this being also something that I took from the 8 forms of wealth that are discussed in Omega. But yeah, this is just for the exercise that they say then. And the other thing is something that writer just wrote in the SoftGov channel, and I think it's very interesting. And it's a discussion about the multisigs. Like some people is not so much familiar with how they work, and maybe right now that we are looking for the common subgrade, it would be really good to talk about how are we seeing the multisigs as a useful tool of this step. So yeah, which way would you like to go, or do you think that we have time to make both things?
Does anybody have any specific questions about the multi-sig?
Could you do like a brief overview, or anyone who's knowledgeable about that?
Yeah, I do think the multi-sig has been like widely discussed already. But I don't know, Juan, if there's something specific about it that you wanted to touch on.
No, more in the general. Like we know that we are having like a multisig for the initial buy, and that the number of people where is going to be voted on by the proposals that we have in the forum. But like yeah, like the questions around what are they used to, and like how much how many would we be having after the commons upgrade.
I think. No, go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, it seems to me, Ryder, is your question just more about like multi-sigs and how they work, rather than a specific question in the community? Or do you want to?
So let me explain, if I may. It sounds like we should go the other direction to answer your question, 1K, and not do multi-sig stuff in this call, especially because you started us off with such a great relational question. But what I'll say is that I've seen a lot of the ups and downs of using a multi-sig in a community, and I want to share my experience. And I've created a document that I think is more of an onboarding document for people because if we're going to have like 15 working groups using multi-sigs, 15 multi-sigs, we're going to have a long range of like accessibility needs and understanding of this tool. And also this tool has a lot of consequences. And so I'd like to share my experience, have someone also proof this doc, because I don't know TEC as well as everyone else, like the general culture and what people do and don't understand and what they do and don't like see as valuable. And so I'm like kind of just trying to shove myself in here and be like, I know things that I think are important, especially as a non-technical person who's been nativizing themselves in this stuff. So I want to share it in my crude language, and I want people to benefit from it as necessary. And even if you don't end up on the multi-sig, you can kind of see like multi-sig, multiple signers, like just like have it explained, because I see it just thrown around forever without anyone just like stopping to explain what the hell it is, why we need it, and what some of the consequences are of having multiple people decide on a transaction.
Yeah. Those are some of the governance things that we will be facing daily, and that DAOs are facing a lot, like participation and yeah.
I'm not going to cut myself short either. Another thing that I think motivated me to think about this like 6 a.m. and start writing it in my head is that I'm in a conflict with a really good friend right now over like a text about our multi-sig, where I was like, hey, can you help out with this fuckery? Because it was like an intense situation where someone was requesting money, and it led to a big conflict between two friends that's lasted over 2 months. And so like, and I know Juanca loves hearing that because, conflict. And we had a wonderful like mediation between friends yesterday to start us off. I could go on, but yeah, it's important that people feel empowered to use the tool and have the access they need. And it's also the kind of thing that can be very emergent sometimes. Like people need to get paid. Projects need to get paid. And I think that we should always keep like the working class in mind, because we get a little bit tied up in like, this is token and investments, but some people like need to turn their tokens around to like make a living. And those are the people who are suffering when we're having conversations about the multi-sig. And so just like bring it back to that bottom up kind of mentality. So I think this onboarding tool could be helpful in like just like explaining things really simply.
Yeah, because it's a very it's a collective group, and always and need to be like very synced for execution. So yeah, that there's always that extra ingredient of complexity. Sorry, Tam, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say, I opened your document quickly just to have a read. I think it's kind of like, here's what I learned using multi-sigs. Here are some of the like gotchas and watch outs. Could be a really nice forum post actually, because there's not like one specific working group that it's going to touch everyone. So it's sort of like, and I think it also invites others to sort of, thread that into including their experiences too. I think a lot of people are going to be using multi-sigs for the first time. And I think it's really nice to share those experiences as well.
I'm definitely one of them. Yeah, so I will appreciate it. Yeah, I'm learning a lot right now, so thank you.
I got you, Caesar.
I also think that would be a really good Medium article if you're interested in. I would be willing to help with that if you.
I don't know the difference. So whoever wants to direct me onto where a good place is to put this document, I'm happy to copy and paste it from my Notion and proper location.
Yeah, no, it's great. Do you have a Medium account?
And DAOs, like where documentation is.
Maybe it's good to start with a forum post and then see what it is. And then see what it comes into actually, because I think that probably would make a nice a Medium post is more like an accumulation of everything in a very succinct form. Right?
Nate, we can try again.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah. So it was a very interesting agenda topic to include in this call, and something came out of it. So yes, Ryder, please share the link in the Softgov channel. And also I shared the link to these 10 forms of wealth. So yeah, I think that we can take some 5 to 10 minutes of this call, so everyone feels this the way they feel. And yeah, we can have this shared exercise I am gonna make it too. So I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah, for the people that want to have like some aid on how to do it easily, yeah, I am just gonna open the PDF and yeah, put some dots basically in the figure.
Is there like a scoring system, or does that completely defeat the point of the exercise?
No, it's not a scoring system. It's just like a way to map it. How are you feeling in the 10 forms of wealth? Like, yeah, maybe to understand what maybe if you need some attention to one aspect in specific more than the other. So I just thought it was a great exercise to do in this call. And yeah,
Can I say a couple of things about this in terms of background?
yes, for sure.
And then also, I just like to mention Ryder's document there. As somebody who works like as a sysadmin, the things that she's writing in there are really common to many sort of shared sysadmin things. So if you work in an IT department and you've got a whole group of people who have sort of cascading permissions and things like this is all a very good thing to kind of deal with. And it's my observation that operationally, I think we do take for granted that perhaps people are aware of the principles of trying to share this type of thing. And I would just say that there's places to add some things to that in terms of attitude. Like for myself, I realize I could put any given business out of business in about an hour. because of the responsibility you have with that type of thing. So there is a kind of banker's ideal that I try to hold myself to in terms of ethics and things that you really have to kind of understand that that's a thing you have to abide with. So yeah, that's true of all tools, but multisig is a big deal because there's money involved. Anyway, so then in terms of the 8 forms of wealth, which I think this expands upon in a bit of a modern way. The original formulation of this you'll see is called Ashta Lakshmi, Lakshmi being with the SK or SHK or SX, or sometimes just LAX. By the way, the banks in India are very commonly called Lakshmi because she is the goddess of wealth, and you'll often see her represented as her different 8 forms with the different things going around the outside. So like my Durga up here is the 8 forms of Durga. That's Ashta Durga. So Ashta Lakshmi is another thing, and this kind of expands on that a little bit. So just a little background on where this comes from.
Yeah, so I am just gonna leave it here. And yeah, you can download the document in the Softgov channel. And let's take 5 to 10 minutes to fill it. And it's just a personal exercise.
It's just to pick one of those scales, right? A place on the scale. I think it's relatively quick to do.
If you wanted to use the mirror board I posted with the image, we could do it collectively and I'll see where our numbers are.
Okay, we can do it first individually and then we can try to do it collectively. But from my individual experience, I need to have like more physical health and I need some adventure. Yeah, I feel that those are the main things that I recognize that can be improved to have a more integral wealth. And where's the mirror board link? Can be an interesting exercise. Okay.
It could also be like everyone copies and pastes their own on the mirror board and shows it to each other individually. It's up to you. I just thought it could be fun. Also, one, is this like in our current life, or is it about like what we value, or is it like where we're at in our like current status with each domain?
Yeah, I think it's in our current, like, I feel from some months now that really one need that I need and in my life is to have more physical health. Like, I have been a little bit like overweight and a lot of I have been trying to do exercise and then I got an injury and like I feel like I am getting a cold, like and I would really like to feel more in sync with my physical health and also like adventure. I don't know, I these past months have been like really quiet and not and in my house. I just posted mine in the mirror. And yeah, as this was very personal too, I think that we could end this call a little bit early, like 10 minutes before the hour, so that we can take that time to reflect on ourselves and on this graphic, and also to have some time before the graviton training call that Livy is going to be leading today.
Thanks for hosting today, Juan.
Thank you, Livy. And if you guys want to drop it in the mirror board, we can check it out later and like see what are the different individuals that we have in the community and the different needs that we have.
Thanks for hosting one.
Okay. Thanks everyone for coming to this call. Livy, I hope I did well with your with your high standards. So thank you.
You did great. Thank you. I see you all in the gravity training.
Right. Thanks.
you.
Hey, we get a break.
Thank you.